She just slapped a native doctor in front of 500 people. The bride wants him dead. The security wants him out. But the billionaire? He's about to realize that this crazy old man is the only thing standing between him and a casket. Wait until you see what was hidden inside her wedding bouquet. Chief Emeka stood at the altar, sweating slightly in his bespoke Italian suit. Not from the heat, but from the overwhelming perfection of the moment. He looked down at Jessica. She was a vision in imported lace, her eyes modest, her hands trembling just enough to look demure. The bishop cleared his throat, raising the holy book to bless the union. Flashbulbs popped like distant lightning, capturing the marriage of Lagos's most eligible billionaire and his church choir angel. Every senator, oil mogul, and influencer in the country was watching. It was a coronation as much as a wedding. Then, the massive mahogany doors at the back of the church slammed open with a sound like a gunshot. The light from the midday sun blinded the congregation for a second. When their eyes adjusted, the silence was shattered. Standing in the doorway, blocking out the light, was a silhouette that didn't belong. He held a staff. He wore rags, and he was walking straight toward the altar. The intruder moved with a terrifying slowness. He was an old man, his skin weathered like ancient leather, his chest bare save for cryptic white chalk markings. A red velvet wrapper, stained with earth, hung loosely around his waist. With every step, the cowrie shells tied to his heavy wooden staff rattled. A dry, skeletal sound that echoed off the marble walls. The elite guests in their fascinators and three-piece suits recoiled, pulling their designer fabrics away as if he were a disease. The juxtaposition was violent. The raw, dirty earth of the village invading the sterile, gilded sanctuary of the city. Jessica gripped Emeka's arm, her fingernails digging deep into his bicep. "It's a madman," she whispered, her voice laced with a panic that felt too sharp. "Emeka, don't let him near me." Emeka felt a surge of protective rage. This was his sanctuary. He locked eyes with his head of security, a massive man named Tund. Emeka didn't speak. He just gave a single, sharp nod toward the aisle. "Remove him." Tund and two other guards sprinted down the aisle, their shoes squeaking violently on the polished floor. They didn't ask questions. Tund lunged, grabbing the old man's shoulder to hurl him back. But the native doctor didn't crumple. He spun with surprising agility, slamming the butt of his heavy staff onto Tund's foot. The guard howled. The other two men tackled the old man, dragging him down. The staff clattered across the stone. It was a mess of limbs and red velvet. A decorative vase shattered near the pews. The bishop gasped, clutching his chest. The old man was pinned, his face pressed against the cold floor, but he didn't beg for mercy. He twisted his neck, his eyes locking onto the altar, and screamed with a voice that cut through the chaos. "Check her bouquet, you fool. Ask her about the red pouch." The words hung in the air, heavier than the incense smoke. Emeka froze. He felt Jessica stiffen beside him, not a tremble of fear, but the rigid tension of a wire about to snap. He looked at her. Her face had drained of all color, her eyes darting frantically from the guards to the exit. "He's delirious," she shrieked, her angelic voice cracking into something shrill and ugly. "Get him out. Kill him if you have to. Just get him out." Kill him? The violence of her request struck Emeka like a slap. Why would she want a crazy old man dead? Tund had the old man in a chokehold, dragging him toward the doors. "Wait!" Emeka's voice boomed, amplified by the microphone. The guard stopped. Emeka stepped off the altar. "Bring him here. Let him stand." As the guards hesitated, a man in the front row jumped up. It was Barrister Cole, Jessica's personal lawyer and the best man. His face was slick with sweat. He didn't look at Emeka. He looked at the native doctor with terrified recognition. He reached into his suit jacket, his hand shaking violently. "Don't listen to him, Chief. He's a terrorist. He has a bomb strapped to his chest. Screams erupted from the pews. Guests scrambled over each other, knocking over chairs in a stampede for the side exits. Cole pulled a black pistol from his jacket, aiming it shakily at the old man's head. "I'll take him out, Chief. Get down." The wedding had turned into a war zone in the blink of an eye. The cathedral was a blur of fleeing bodies and overturned pews, but at the altar, time seemed to stop. Emeka stared at the gun in Barrister Cole's hand. The lawyer's knuckles were white, his eyes wide and manic. A terrorist? A bomb? It didn't make sense. The old man wore only a wrapper. There was nowhere to hide a bomb. Emeka made a choice. He stepped down from the dais, moving directly into the line of fire, placing his broad chest between the shaking gun and the kneeling native doctor. "Put the gun down, Cole," Emeka commanded, his voice low and dangerous. "Move, Chief. He's going to kill us all." Cole screamed, sweat dripping into his eyes. "The only person with a weapon here is you," Emeka said. He turned his back on the gun, a massive display of dominance, and looked down at the old man. The native doctor stood up, dusting off his red cloth with dignified calm. "You have 30 seconds, Emeka said. "Convince me not to let him shoot you." The Dibia smiled, his teeth stained with cola nut. "I do not need 30. I only need 10. The native doctor walked past Emeka, ignoring the gun pointed at his back, and approached the microphone stand. The feedback whined sharply, silencing the few remaining guests who were cowering behind pillars. "Your bride," Baba Adigwe's voice boomed through the speakers, deep and gravelly, "came to the forest of 7 spirits last night. She did not come to pray." He turned slowly, pointing a long, dirt-stained finger directly at Jessica's face. "She brought 5 million naira in a Louis Vuitton bag." Jessica stood frozen at the altar, looking like a statue of ice. The accusation hung heavy in the air. This wasn't a vague curse. It was a specific transaction. "Liar!" Jessica suddenly lunged forward, her composure shattering. She swung her hand and slapped the old man across the face. The sound cracked like a whip through the silent church. The slap left a burning red mark on Baba Adigwe's weathered cheek, but he didn't flinch. He didn't even blink. He just looked at her with pity. Emeka watched the scene, his stomach churning. He saw the way Jessica stood, chest heaving, teeth bared, eyes wild with rage. This wasn't the demure, soft-spoken woman he had courted for a year. This was a street fighter cornered in an alley. The mask had slipped. Emeka grabbed Jessica's wrist, pulling her back. Her skin felt cold and clammy. "Why did you go to the shrine, Jessica?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "I didn't," she sobbed, trying to twist her face back into the victim. "He's crazy. He's just a beggar trying to extort us." Baba Adigwe wiped a spot of blood from his lip. "Beggar." He reached into the folds of his dirty wrapper. "I do not need your money, small girl." The old man's hand emerged, and the remaining guests gasped. He wasn't holding a fetish or a skull. He was holding a sleek, brand new iPhone 15 Pro Max. The modern technology looked bizarre in his calloused, chalk-dusted hands. He tapped the screen with a practiced thumb, the light illuminating his face. "You forgot one thing about the gods, my daughter," he murmured, stepping back to the microphone. "They see everything, and sometimes they record." He held the phone up to the mic. Emeka held his breath. Jessica stopped struggling. The church went deathly still. The speakers crackled with static for a second, and then a voice filled the cavernous room. It was unmistakable. It was Jessica, but the tone was different, cold, calculating, and mocking. "I don't care if the charm kills him, Baba. In fact, it's better if he dies quickly. I just need him confused enough to sign the power of attorney first. Once the company is in my name, he can have his heart attack. Just give me something strong. Make it look natural." The recording ended. The silence that followed was heavy enough to crush bones. Emeka stared at the woman he loved. The words echoed in his head. Make it look natural. She hadn't just wanted his money. She had planned his murder before the honeymoon even started. It's AI, Jessica whispered, her voice trembling. But the lie was so weak it dissolved before it reached his ears. Emeka turned from the microphone, his eyes locking onto the bridal bouquet resting on the altar. The white roses looked innocent, but the Dibbia's words burned in his mind. Ask her about the red pouch. He grabbed the flowers, his grip crushing the delicate stems. He tore them apart, petals raining down like snow on the marble floor. Hidden deep within the bundle, tied with a rough twine that cut into the soft greenery, was a small leather pouch. It was stained dark, smelling faintly of sulfur and rot. The smell of death. Emeka held it up. His hand shook. This wasn't AI. This wasn't a deep fake. This was a physical weight in his palm. He looked at Jessica. Is this the love you have for me? He choked out, his voice broken. You were going to poison me on the altar? Jessica didn't scream. She didn't beg. Slowly, the tears on her face stopped. Her posture straightened. The terrified bride vanished, replaced by something cold and reptilian. She checked her diamond wristwatch. You're so dramatic, Emeka, she said, her voice dropping the high-pitched facade. She signaled to Barrister Cole. I didn't need to poison you on the altar, darling. You were so nervous in the vestry. Remember the glass of water I gave you 10 minutes ago? Emeka's heart skipped a beat. A cold wave washed over him. Not from fear, but from his own blood. His vision blurred at the edges. The world tilted. What did you do? I sped up the timeline, Jessica smiled, stepping over the ruined flowers. Cole, get the phone. The floor rushed up to meet Emeka. His knees hit the marble with a sickening crack, but he barely felt it. His limbs felt like they were filled with lead. He gasped for air, but his lungs felt paralyzed. Emeka! Baba Adigwe roared. The old man lunged forward to help him, raising his staff. Take him down, Barrister Cole shouted. The 3 security guards, who had been confused moments ago, now followed the orders of the man with the gun. They tackled the native doctor. A boot slammed into the old man's face, silencing his prayers. Emeka tried to reach out, to command them to stop, but his hand just twitched uselessly on the cold stone. He was a prisoner in his own body. From his vantage point on the floor, Emeka watched the nightmare unfold. He saw Barrister Cole stomp on the native doctor's hand, forcing him to release the iPhone. Cole picked it up, smirked, and dropped it onto the stone floor. He brought his heel down. Crunch. The screen shattered. The recording, the only proof of the truth, was gone. Jessica knelt beside Emeka. She looked concerned for the benefit of the few remaining witnesses. She stroked his cheek, her touch feeling like ice. Don't worry, everyone, she shouted to the room, fake tears returning instantly. He's having a seizure. My poor husband. Call an ambulance. She leaned in close, her lips brushing his ear so only he could hear. The ambulance is mine too, Emeka. You won't make it to the hospital. The darkness was closing in fast now. The last thing Emeka saw was the native doctor being dragged out in handcuffs, blood streaming down his face, looking at Emeka with infinite sorrow. They were framing him. The headline was already written. Crazy villager attacks billionaire. Jessica stood up, smoothing her dress. She picked up the red pouch from where Emeka had dropped it and slipped it into her bra. She looked down at him one last time, her eyes empty of anything human. She had the company, she had the money, and now she had his life. As the heavy doors of the church closed, shutting out the light, Emeka's heart gave one final, struggling beat. The villain had won. Broken heart justice for Emeka. The story isn't over. They think they've won. They think money can silence the truth. But the native doctor isn't dead yet. and neither is the fight. If this ending made your blood boil, and you want to see Jessica and Cole pay for what they did in part 2, smash that subscribe button right now. Backhand index pointing down comment part 2 below if you think Emeka survived. Backhand index pointing down. Don't let evil win. Subscribe to see the revenge.